Okay, let's try it now. Sorry. Let me see if that works any better. No. All right. We're just going to have to go with it as it is. I was hoping to have it the other way round. Okay, so tonight, just see, that doesn't look right. Hang on. Oh, here we are. Excellent. Right. Welcome. Sorry we're a little bit late, as you may have seen if you were here at 8 o'clock on the dot, as usual. While I get used to this, I had a few technical difficulties. So tonight we're going to talk about the big shot. I've had lots of customers and people who attend classes have asked me all about the big shot and asked me all sorts of questions. So I thought it would be helpful if I just kind of put all those questions together and try to answer them for you. For me, the big shot is quite an investment. It's not one of the first things that I would recommend that people purchase when they get involved in crafting, but it's one of those things that once you do make that investment, you'll never look back. As I said before, the big shot is to my crafting like my little black dress is to my wardrobe. It just comes out all the time and it can do so many different things. It can cut, it can emboss, it can cut and emboss. The way it coordinates with a lot of our stamp sets is great. But I think for a lot of people, they get a bit confused about what's the sandwich that I need to use? How do I construct it to get a good cut? Particularly, how do I cut detailed dies? A lot of people... Thanks, Amy. A lot of people... Oh my gosh, Amy's here from Mexico. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'm just going to go through right from the beginning, right basics of how to use your big shot. So first of all, as I've mentioned, the big shot is this machine here. It's effectively a roller inside and a handle on the side here that you roll. And how it works is that the rollers inside provide enough pressure on whatever you're putting through the middle to either cut or emboss whatever you want to do. Now, where it gets confusing is that you have a range of options like this for building what we call your sandwich. And depending on what you're doing, you need a different thickness of sandwich. Now, if you already have a big shot, the chances are you've got this, which is the multi-purpose platform. And the multi-purpose platform basically has everything you need all in one platform. It has tabs here, tab 2 and tab 1. Now, it very helpfully tells you on each tab which tab you need to use for what you're doing. So, for example, here, if you're using a thin framelit die, I'll explain what that is in a moment, then you need tab 2, which is this tab here. If you're doing anything bigger, so if you're embossing, so if you're using an embossing folder, or if you're using a thicker die, then you need to use tab 1. Okay? And basically what it is that tab 2 just provides you with more pressure to get a cleaner cut. If you haven't bought the big shot yet, or you've bought one recently, then it will come slightly differently. And what you'll have is your platform, which is this, which always goes at the bottom. So this, you can see it's quite thick, and this is the base which you use for all your cutting and embossing. And with that then comes what's called a thin die adapter. And this is kind of like the tab 2 on the multi-purpose platform. It's a very thin shim, if you will, that just goes on top of the big shot platform when you're cutting thin dies. And again, it gives you the instructions here. It tells you what to use it with. Okay? Then what you'll get with your machine, or what you should already have, or what we call our cutting plates. So you'll need 2 cutting plates for everything that you do. One will go underneath what you're cutting, and one will go on top of what you're cutting. Now you can see that mine have been marked because I use them quite a lot. Don't worry about your plates getting marked. It's what happens. So I know when I first ran my plates through my Big Shot, I heard a great big crack and I got a big dent in it, and I kind of thought, oh my God, what am I doing? Hi Sue, thanks for joining us. So don't worry about your plates getting marked and cracked. Eventually they will get so marked that you can't see through them and you will need to replace them, but that will take quite some time. And the thing you need to watch out for more than anything else is them getting bent. So you will see these ones haven't had them for that long and they're quite straight like this. Let me show you the ones that they replaced. So here we have my old plates. You can see they've been well used. It's hard to see through them. But more importantly, we've got a great big gap here. Now, there are various ways that you can use to try and straighten these out. And I've tried various ways. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's worth a try. What I would say to you in terms of keeping your plates flat is try and flip them as you run them through the Big Shot, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through. I've produced a crib sheet, which is this here, which talks about all the different types of dies or embossing folders that you're likely to use, and what the sandwich will be, whether you're using the standard platform or the old platform. Now, if you want to get a copy of this, simply leave a comment or PM me and I will get in touch with you and I will email you a copy of this, which you can have to hand. It's very, very helpful. Now, in looking at this, one other platform that we've got is what's called the magnetic platform. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about that one now. So the magnetic platform is really designed to replace or be used instead of the Big Shot platform and the thin die adapter, or your multi-purpose platform with tab 2. And what this is designed to do is, if I get a die, I'll show you. Let me just pop one out. So very often, if you're cutting out, sometimes what we do is we stamp an image and then want to cut it out. And I'll demonstrate this later. And sometimes what happens is our die can float about on our platform. So what we've got is a magnetic platform, which you can see the die sticks to, and that means it doesn't move around. Now, if you don't have a magnetic platform, then you can just use a little bit of washi tape to stick your die in place. And in fact, until I only got a magnetic platform recently, and until I did, that's precisely what I did. I just used a little bit of washi tape. Okay, so they're the main components of your Big Shot. Oh wait, there's one more item, which is, can't believe I forgot that. It's very important. It's what's called the precision base plate. Okay, if you want to cut detailed dies, you must have this. Otherwise, you will spend all your time doing shims or trying to release your dies. They won't cut through properly. And I'm going to demonstrate in a little while the difference between using this and not using this. Hi Emma, good to see you. Hope you enjoyed your holiday. What this is a much more rigid base. So when you're cutting your detailed dies, it just gives that little bit extra pressure. And you use it instead of one of your cutting plates. But again, I'm going to demonstrate each one of these as we go through them bit by bit, and I'll show you the different types of dies. Okay, so as I say, they're the main components. When you order your Big Shot, it will come with the Big Shot platform, the thin die adapter, and 2 cutting plates. The magnetic platform and the precision base plate are extras. You can also purchase, not from Stampin' Up, but you can purchase from Sizzix extender plates, which make these plates are much longer, so you can cut longer dies. Okay, so let's get started. So one of the first things people ask me is, what's a framelit? What's a thinlit? Which is which do I use with which die? Okay, a framelit is just like what it says. It's a frame. So it's designed to cut around an image. Okay, and you can see it's thin. So when you're using a framelit, The sandwich that you need for that is you start with your Big Shot platform. Because it's a thin die, you need your thin die adapter. If you were using your multi-purpose platform, you would put it through with tabs 1 and 2. Okay? Then what you do is you place your first cutting plate down. You never cut onto the surface of your plates, only the cutting plates. Okay? So you shouldn't be getting marks on any of your base plates. Then what you do is, I'm just going to show you an example. Is I'm just going to quickly stamp an image here. Let's pop it on the block. Okay. So I'm going to stamp this image from the watercolor words stamp set. Okay, and I'm going to use the Stitched Shapes Framelits die, and what you do is you put it around your image like that. Okay, so remember, you've got your base plate, your thin die adapter, your bottom cutting plate. Your die needs to go cutting side down. Okay, align it over your image. Place your top cutting pad and then just roll it through. If you hear a crack like that, don't worry. That's just the machine, the die cutting through. So don't panic. Okay? And then what you have is your die cut out. Now, this particular die set that we're using, the Stitched Shapes Framelits die, is a fantastic set if you're just starting out on the Big Shot. Because that's the other question a lot of people ask me. I want to buy a Big Shot. What are the kind of dies that I should use to begin with when doing this? And I always say go with this, because you've got a good range of shapes for cutting out sentiments to go on your cards. You've got circles, squares and ovals. And in fact, I'm doing a special offer at the moment that if you order a Big Shot from me between now and the 31st of March using a special host code, I will send you this die set free, which is a fantastic deal. So you buy yourself your Big Shot and then you get your die set and away you go. There's infinite choices in terms of dies out there, just like there are infinite choices of stamp sets. But this is a fantastic starter set. So I'm going to put that away because we're going to use that on a project a little bit later. Okay. Now what I want to show you, I'll show you that later. So that's what a framelit is. Okay. Now a thinlit is slightly different in the sense that it's not really designed to go around an image. It's designed to, or a sentiment, it's designed to cut out an image. So here we have a set of thinlits, okay? So this is the Lift Me Up thinlits, which we're going to use in a little while. But let me just show you what I mean. Let's take... So on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the coordinating stamp set, and this is where it's Stampin' Up! Is fantastic, because a lot of our stamp sets, our dies, are designed to coordinate with our stamp sets. So you can stamp your image and then cut it out. Okay, so I just take my scrap of paper again. I'm just going to ink it up here. Okay, now you could fussy cut that, but you know what, it's a pain. And also, this is where, if I put this on here, okay, now I'm using my ordinary platform. And you can see that the die has a tendency to move around, so I would stick that down with a bit of washi tape. Hi Susan, good to see you. Hoping for another prize tonight, are you? Susan won our top prize in my last Facebook Live. She won the Tin of Cards project kit, which I'm hoping should arrive any day now. So because now I'm going to switch to my magnetic platform because I want to cut this out. Now, I don't need the thin die adapter with this. So all I do is I place my die down and it holds tight now. When using the magnetic platform with your plates, if your plates are bent, then obviously you don't get a good there. Can you see the difference? I'll show you again. My plate is slightly rounded, so if I put it down that way, there's a gap between the plate and the platform. If I flip it like this, then I get a good contact with the magnetic platform, and you can see that my die sticks straight down and doesn't want to move. Okay, so I'm just going to line that up where I want it. There we go. And then we place our cutting plate on top and cut it out. And there you got a nicely cut out stamped image instead of having to fussy cut it. Now we're going to use this on a project later, so I'm just going to do a little bit more stamping because we're going to do some clouds. So let's get my stamp set again, and I want my large clouds. No, I want a small one. So I'm just going to stamp this one down, and I'll have a big one. Okay, and then we've got the small. You can see how easily that sticks to the plate. Well, I've moved it now, but sometimes you need to find a spot where the magnets are not pulling it in a funny way, because it's the magnets are in as dots inside the platform. So occasionally your die will jump, but you just need to move the paper around slightly. Okay. So there we've got one, and then we're just going to run it through again. Again, if I had my ordinary platform, I would just put a tiny bit of washi tape on there to hold on to it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to put that to one side, put these back on the set. Okay, when we come to make the card, we'll be doing a little bit more die cutting, so I'll bring that back later. Alright, so that's the difference between a framelit and a thinlit. Just close up my ink pads. Okay, the next kind of die you can get is a detail die. And these are the dies that tend to cause us the most difficulty because they can be difficult to work with because they are so detailed, and that's where the precision base plate really comes into its own. So I'm just going to demonstrate to you now using one of our particularly detailed dies. I'm just going to dig it out. Where have I put it? It's up here. Okay. So I'm going to use this Blooming Hearts Thinlit or die. Okay, and what it cuts out is this really detailed. Hi Nikki, good to see you, haven't heard from you in a while. Hope everything's all well down on the south coast for you. So you can see how detailed this die is. Okay, now if I use just my regular platform, I'm going to stick with the magnetic platform for the moment, but if I didn't have a magnetic platform, I would again use my base plate and thin die adapter, or if I had the multi-purpose platform, I'd use it with tab 2 down. Like I said at the beginning, I've done a crib sheet which has all of this written down for you, so you can keep this with you. If you want one, just put it in the comments, send me a crib sheet, and I'll contact you and we'll sort out the details. But let me just show you. Okay, I'm going to pop this down here, run it through. Now when you're working with a detail die, it is best to run it through a couple of times just to give it a good chance of cutting. Okay, now when I pull this out, can you see that we've got quite a lot of areas here where it hasn't cut very well? Okay, which is, you don't want that. Now you could try drier sheets, you can try shims, putting a little bit of extra card over the bit that hasn't cut, but that's quite fiddly and it doesn't always work. So let me show you the difference when we switch. So we take our platform away. Okay, so we start with our base again. But instead of our cutting plate at the bottom like we'd normally do, we get our precision base plate. We always cut with the black side up, okay, not the side that's got the picture on it. And now I'm going to take my piece of card and then my die. I'm just going to take this die out. I'm going to use our die brush, which is great for this, saves a lot of poking. Put that out. So you can see it's released quite nicely, but it just hasn't cut through. Okay, so let's pop it back on here. All right, so remember we've got our base plate, thin die adapter, precision base plate, card, die. And then we put our cutting plate on top and we just run it through as normal. Okay, now you'll have to work this one a little bit because you've got a bit of extra pressure, so don't panic if it feels a bit tough. And like before, I'm just going to run it through a few times. Okay, now can you see that's cut perfectly? Can you see the difference? And that's the beauty of the precision base plate. So if you like your detailed dies, then you need this to save hours of frustration. I'm just going to pop that out. There we go. And you can see just how easily all the bits come out. Okay, now you can use your die brush to do it. Or you can use your pokey tool if you wish, any way you want. I'm not going to go through that in detail because we're not going to use that on a card, but I just wanted to show you the difference that having a precision base plate makes. Okay, so the thing you've got to be really careful with on the precision base plate though is that you mustn't use it on your more open dies because it's just too much pressure and it can break or it can damage your die, the cutting surface of it. So if you look at these dies, because they're detailed, they're quite rigid. Whereas if you compare it to something like the framelit that we were using earlier, there's a lot less in it. So don't use this plate on your open dies. Really only use it on your thinlits dies. Now, what Stampin' Up have done is, oh, that's good to hear from you, Nikki. Can't wait to hear how you're getting on. So what we've done is in the catalogue, in the section where we have all the dies, okay, what we've got is, you can see here, it says thinlits and framelits, and it gives you the sandwich that you need. So it says all of these dies here are fine to use with just a regular base plate, the regular platform, and your regular cutting plates, okay? Then we come over and we've got all of these which are suitable. Right, we've got quite a collection. Then we have some dies on here, and we have these die sets down the bottom here, which it says you absolutely must have the precision base plate for these in order for them to work properly. And then we have these dies up here, which it says we'd recommend the precision base plate. So if you're ever in any doubt about whether to use the precision base plate or not, the catalogue will tell you that. And then in the seasonal catalogue, you'll see here, it tells you, so it says here with the up and away thinlits, which is the one we used a second ago, use the precision base plate. So it'll always tell you what base plate it recommends you to use. But like I said, if it's detailed, just go with this. Okay? So let's move that out of the way for the moment. So that takes us through, oh, no it doesn't. What am I talking about? That's the main die cutting element. The next is embossing, which is fantastic fun. And basically what embossing is it's creating a texture on your cards. So what the sandwich that we need for this, okay, is again, start with your base plate. You don't need your thin die adapter because you're not cutting, okay? So you've got your base plate, you've got your cutting plate. Okay, you've got your embossing folder, and you just put your cardstock inside your embossing folder. Now which way I want? This way. Okay, you pop that down on there, and then, where's my other cutting plate? Cutting plates have a tendency to go missing on the craft table because they're clear. What have I done with mine? Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so here we have base plate. So we've got our platform, cutting plate, embossing folder with the paper inside, and cutting plate on top. If you had the multi-purpose platform, what you would do is you would flip plate 2 out of the way, and then you would just take your cutting plate, embossing folder, card and cutting plate, place them on top and run this sandwich through the Big Shot. Okay, again, it's all on the crib sheet, which I can send to you. So let's put this back on here and then just run this through. When you're embossing, don't run it back twice because sometimes it can just damage the card, because the folders they tend to give really deep impressions and you don't want to tear your card. So you can see here we've got a lovely wavy pattern which we're going to use on a card a little bit later. Okay, so again this applies to any embossing folder, not just the embossing folders you can purchase from Stampin' Up. All right. Now, one thing Stampin' Up have introduced recently is what they called dynamic embossing folders, which are these, which produce a much more detailed, sort of a much deeper impression. And you can see, oh, hang on, my broadcast has been paused. Just bear with me a moment. What's happened here? What's going on? Oh, here we are. Okay, that's fine. Slight interruption there for a second. Sorry about that. Right, so if I show you here, here's the embossing folder we've just used. It's the thickness of it. Here is the dynamic embossing folder. It's much, much thicker. So if you were to try and run this through using the same sandwich that we've used for this one, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't go through and you'd run the risk of breaking your machine. So the sandwich for this is slightly different. Okay, so you start, let's put this away. You start with your platform as normal. Okay, you leave out the bottom cutting pad. You again place your cardstock inside, place it down, and then you place your cutting pad on top. Whatever you're doing in the Big Shot, you always have a clear cutting pad on top. If you don't, then you've got your sandwich wrong. Okay, so then we just roll that through, and again with embossing, I don't tend to roll it through twice. And then what we get is this fabulous, fabulous effect. It's almost like an optical illusion, this one. Really, really deep, and even on that side. Super, super effect. I've used this on a card which I demonstrated in my last Facebook Live event, so I'm not going to make a card with this, but you can see it here. Okay, makes a fantastic background, and here you can see I've used the stitch shapes framelit that I was talking about earlier on. Okay, so there we've done die cutting and we've done embossing. I just want to quickly talk you through some types of dies that Stampin' Up don't carry, but that Sizzix do. So if you've had your Big Shot for a while, or you've gotten a hold of some, you see these dies, I just want to explain to you how to use them in your Big Shot. You won't be able to buy them in, oh, you've lost the sound, Nikki. Can you hear me now? I saw a message saying that it had been interrupted. Could you send me a message if you can hear me? So there's a couple, Sizzix do what they call a Bigs die. Now this is an old Stampin' Up die. You can still get these, just not with Stampin' Up. And you can see that they're much, much thicker. So the platform for this is different. For this, because it's so thick, you don't need a base plate at all. Okay? All you do is you have your cutting pad, you have your die. Now the difference with this die, you'll notice, is that all the other dies, we always cut with the cutting side down. So it's always cardstock with the die on top cutting downwards. For this one, it's the other way around. So I'm just going to use this scrap. So you'll see we've got, this is the cutting side, and inside this foam pad of steel cutters. So I'm just going to place my card over like that. So we've got a cutting plate, our die, our cardstock, and another cutting plate on top. Okay, and we just run that straight through. Just going to run it back again. And there we have our little flower that's been cut out. Okay, so that's that. The other type of die that you may see about the place, but again Stampin' Up! Don't carry anymore, are what we call embosslets or sizzlets. And you can see that they're slightly thicker than your normal thin dies that you get these days. This just cuts out a snowflake. This one cuts and embosses. I loved this one, and I was very sad when Stampin' Up! Retired this. But let me get some scraps and I'll show you how to do this one. So, the sandwich that you're going to need for this one is your platform. Okay, you don't need your thin die adapter because these aren't thin dies. So then you need your cutting plate. Okay, then we need our die. I'm going to do both these at the same time because they're the same thickness. So again with these, it's cutting side up. Place your cardstock on top. And then with this one, we just place the cardstock inside, kind of like we would with an embossing folder. Place it down. And then you've got your... Nikki, has anybody else lost it? Hang on. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's good, Emma, thanks. Oh, Nikki, I hope it's not just you. Well, I kind of do hope it's just you, actually. I hope whatever it is, you get it resolved. But keep listening, keep watching. Right, so we've got our platform. So again, to go over the sandwich, you've got your platform, your cutting plate, and your dies, and then your cutting plate. If you were using the multi-purpose platform, again, you flip it to tab 1, and you can see them here. There's the embosslet that we're using. Here's a sizzlet that we're using. So again, if you're unsure, just check your actual base plate, and it will tell you what to use. Okay. Thanks, Sue. Glad you can hear me. Right, so I'm just going to run this through. It's got quite a bit of pressure because these are quite thick, these dies. Okay, and you can see quite seasonal. We have had snow forecast, haven't we? So maybe we might need this rather than needing to keep it till Christmas. Okay, got a nice little snowflake there. And then inside here, I wish we still had these because I love these. We've got these gorgeous little butterflies. Can you see that? And they just pop out like that. And you can see that not only are they shaped, but they've got little designs embossed, which is why it's called an embosslet. These are so cute. They're gorgeous. If you can find these on eBay, then I would recommend it. It's a embosslet's beautiful wings. It's a beautiful, beautiful little set. Okay, so going to put those to one side. So there we have it. That is the basics of pretty much what you need to know to get going with your die cutting and embossing with your Big Shot. One thing I would say to you is that when you're putting your dies through, is please make sure that sometimes you might cut more than one image at a time. Please make sure that they never ever cross in the machine like this, because your die will break if that happens. Okay. The other thing I would say is that obviously when it comes to cutting out stamped images, there are two schools of thought. There are the people who will stamp the image and then cut it out. So they use their die to cut it. I belong to that school. There are also people who like to cut out their shape and then stamp on top. It's entirely up to you which you find easiest. But like I say, I prefer... oh, Emma, you can't hear me. Oh, we're having... But Sue, you can. Oh, we seem to be... Maybe it's my signal is going in and out. I'll keep going. Hopefully the sound will come back. Okay? So, the other thing I would say to you is that, again, for detailed dies, I would definitely recommend that you use this die brush. It just makes it so much easier to, as you saw me using it earlier, to release the dies release the cardstock from your dies. I've found that since I've gotten the precision base plate, I don't need to worry about putting greaseproof paper or any of those other tricks that you need in order to get your dies to release. They just pop straight out, which is fantastic. It makes it just so much easier and so much more fun. The other thing to remember is with your plate, remember I was saying before, they have a tendency to get a bit bent. So just try, particularly if you're doing a lot of die cutting in any one session, is try each time you run it through to just flip it over so that it's, because what happens is as it's going through, it's kind of being bent like that. So what you need to do is just flip it so that it's being bent that way instead. Okay? It's just as you're going along, just try and do that. The other thing is that over time, little bits of card, and if you can see here, little just strips and strings and what have you of card can sometimes get caught in your base plate, in your cutting plate, sorry. And sometimes that can come off onto your projects, which is a bit unsightly. So all you need to do is just rinse these in warm soapy water with a toothbrush or a nail brush, just gently, and all of the bits will come out. Unfortunately, you won't get rid of the scratches, but you'll get rid of all these little strips, or I don't know what you call them, threads of cardstock. Okay. As I said at the beginning, I've done up a crib sheet for you, which goes through all the different kinds of things that you'll want to do with your big shot, and what the sandwich would be, whether you're using a standard platform, a magnetic platform, or one of the old the old multi-purpose platform. So again, if you'd like me to send you this, just leave me a comment in the comments. Okay. The other thing we're going to do some crafting in a second, but the other thing I want to talk to you about is obviously the prize draw for today's session. So I've got two prizes on offer. First prize is the Pretty Pocket Card Kit, which is a celebration item, which basically is everything you need. Don't need to do any stamping, don't need to do any gluing, cutting, nothing. Everything to make these gorgeous little 8 little cards and the envelopes to match. And also is a pack of this 12 by 12 paper called Up and Away. Again, it's a celebration item. And that's the second prize. So just like it was the last time, the way to win your prize is if you comment, which some of you have already. If you comment on the video, you get 1 entry. If you share this video with your friends, you get 2 entries. If you... Oh, thanks, Lauren. If you place an order with me by this Sunday, then you'll get 5 entries into the draw. I'll announce the winners on my Facebook page on Monday. So make sure to comment, share, and get your orders in. Remember also that celebration is still going on. So from now until the 31st of March, you get a free product from a selection for every £45 you spend. So if you decided, do you know what, I've absolutely got to have a big shot, don't we all? Then now's a perfect time to buy it, because at £99, you would then be entitled to 2 free products from the celebration catalogue. And also with my special offer, you will also get your stitched shapes, framelits, dies for free. if you order before the 31st of March. So in order to do that, you just need to go to my online shop, which is, I'm just going to give you the code here, which is stampingjack.com/shop. Place your order, select your celebration items, and then I will send you the framelits separately. In order to qualify, you must use this code, XS9PQ3N4, when you place your order. That code is valid until the 31st of March. Okay, and as I say, if you order it before Sunday, you also get entered into the draw for the paper and the card pack. I will post up afterwards, when I finish with this video, I'll post up a link which gives you all of these details of where to go to shop and the host code so that you can get your order in. Okay, right, so let's get down to making some cards. Okay, so let's see, where will we start? I'm just going to take a quick drink. How are we doing? Okay, so let's do, so let's move this to one side for a moment. Let's go back to the very first thing that we did, which was cutting out our Just For You sentiment. Okay, I've used this watercolor words stamp set, and I'm just going to take the flower on the back, and I'm going to just create a little bit more interest in here. Okay, so I'm using Tip Top Taupe. This is Sweet Sugar Plum. I'm going to stamp off, and then just, it gives us a nice bit of background interest on our image, just like that. Okay, this is a super simple card. So all I've got is a Sweet Sugar Plum card base, and I'm just going to take my glue, and then I'm going to use the I think it's called Succulent Garden. This is a paper set that came in the spring summer catalogue at the moment, and when it first came out I was like, not so sure about this, but I'm absolutely loving it. And it's recently been added as one of the free products you can get with Celebration. So fantastic buy. So all I've done is I've cut a panel just a little bit smaller, half a centimetre all the way around, smaller than my card base. I'm just going to pop it on there. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the ribbon here. So again, this is from it's part of a 2-pack, and this is from the spring summer catalogue. So I'm just going to run a piece along there, attach it like this, trim that slightly, don't like it like that. There we go. And then I'm going to take my sentiment and some dimensionals. I need fingernails for this bit. Let's try this. There we go. And I'm just going to pop that down there. How's that for super simple? You could do that, well, if you had a paper pack. I did it earlier on this year. I've made some cards using my paper pack, and you could make like nearly 30 cards using this what's the word I'm looking for, layout. So again, we've used our stitch shaped framelits, and you can see it cuts a lovely circle obviously, but I love the extra added detail of just the stitching around the edge, which is really nice. And again, in the set they layer up, so you could cut, this is the largest one, but if you had a smaller circle you could cut obviously a layer behind it if you wanted. Okay, so that's one. Next, what should we do next? Next I want to do, what's this one? I want to do the embossing. Yeah, just this one. Okay, so we've got our Tip Top Taupe base. We've got a mint macaron. No, I'm going to do that the other way around. I'm going to emboss this mint macaron bit. So bring my Big Shot back in. Okay, so ask everybody out there, can you remember what sandwich I'm going to need for this? Anybody? First of all, I'm going to need my embossing folder. Okay, so I'm going to use the same embossing folder as before, because I really like it. And get my cutting plate, which is here. So I've just got my platform, cutting plate, embossing folder, and cutting pad on top. Run it through. Okay. So here we go. This is what we've got. All right, and then I'm going to use my Stitch Shapes framelit again. So I'm going to stamp a greeting, which is this one. I'm going to make this a thank you card, and I'm going to use pretty much the same layout as I used on the other card. So this is the Designer Tin of Cards kit. Susan, if you're still listening, this is the stamp set that goes with the prize I just sent you. Right, so we're going to stamp this on tip-top toe. Okay, so you can see that we're just going to stamp it there. Okay, and then I'm going to grab one of my squares. Let's see which one is the best. There we go. Okay, thanks to you. So for this one, I'll need my thin die adapter, my cutting plate, my card, my die. Now I could use my magnetic platform for this to help position it, but I think this one will be fine. Cutting plate on top, run it through. Okay. And now what we have is that nice little square. And for the ribbon, I'm going to use this ribbon here, which is again one of the celebration items. Comes in a pack. This is gold. You can get some silver as well. That's a bit long. So for this one, because the move that out of the way. So because the surface here is uneven, I'm going to put my glue on my ribbon this time. Okay, just like that. Make sure it's not sticking out. And again, I'm going to put it up a little bit higher this time. Okay, a bit more glue on there, I think. There we go. I'm going to stick this down onto my card base. So I've got a tip-top taupe card base, a mint macaron panel underneath, and again I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. Okay, and just to give it a little something extra, I'm going to use these butterflies. Why not? So I'm going to use glue dots to attach these. I'm going to do it this way around. I'm going to put him there, and then one there, put one there. Oops, didn't get a glue dot on it that time. There we go. Let's put him there, and then tiny little one. Here we are. Just going to put him down here like that. There we go. And do you know what this needs? This needs some Wink of Stella. So I'm just going to brush that across all of my butterflies. And on this one, I'm just going to put a little bit on the raised portion. And finally, a little bit of bling, I think, is in order. So let's get a, yes, that's what I want. So I want a nice, big, there we go. So there we have it. Again, super easy layout, easy to replicate, whether it's with, it's a bit crooked, whether it's with paper or card. Yeah, I like that one. Cool. Right. So next in line, what are we going to do? I'm going to do some detailed die cutting with you. Okay, so we're using the this die set. Let me bring it into shot. So we're going to use this die set here. You saw me earlier on cutting and stamping the two clouds and the balloon. Okay, I've already cut this balloon image using the precision base plate. Okay, I'm now going to use this to cut the background to it. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I don't need the precision base plate for this little bit, so I've still got my base plate, thin die adapter, cutting plate. And I'm going to use the glimmer paper, which again is another one of our free celebration items. And I'm just going to take these. I'm going to use some scraps and see what I'm going to do now. So we'll start with this one, and then we'll have our big one. And you can see you can put more than one die on your plate at any one time, so you're not having to run it through lots and lots and lots of times. So this paper comes in, this is Bermuda Bay, the greeny colour is mint macaron, and this pinky colour is sweet sugar, is blushing bride, sorry. So we're going to lay that on there. Okay, and then we're going to have that, and then I want this bit. We'll see where this is going in a minute. Let's bring this out so we've got a bit more space. Okay, we want that, and then we want our tiny little piece. I'm going to make that pink. Okay, so we've got all of our bits. Now this is where what I was saying to you before about when you've got multiple dies, make sure they don't cross over one another, because they will break. Okay, so we'll just put those in there. And then we'll just run this through. Now, with glimmer paper, it's a bit thicker than our cardstock, and it's got a waxy coating on the back. So run this through a few times just to make sure it cuts all the way through. Okay. Right, here we go. So we've got, can you see what it is yet? Who used to say that? I think it's probably somebody we're not allowed to mention anymore. So what this does is it layers. That one went a bit funny, so let's do that one again. Let's run that one through one more time. I think my die moved on my plate. That's where your magnetic platform would come into its own, because the die ain't moving because it's stuck to the magnet. Okay, so here we go. Right, so what we have, this, and isn't that cute? And what we're going to do is going to lay this on top like that. How's that? Magic. Love it. Okay, so let's move some of this stuff out of the way. Bring in our card base. So I'm using a Daffodil Delight card base. Put that to one side. Okay, and then I've cut a piece. This is from our Carousels and Cupcakes Designer Series paper, again in the Spring Summer catalogue. I just love this starburst image. So all I'm going to do is stick this down. The glue's run out, so let's switch over to my snail. Okay, Okay, and what I'm going to do is with these items, I'm going to stick them down here, straight onto my card. I mean, just like this, they look great. You don't need to do the die cut on top of it, but seeing as we have it made, let's go for it. I just love this glimmer paper. It's gorgeous. I love the colours. They've actually run out of this in the States. It's been so successful, so I would imagine that it won't be long before it runs out here. When we get towards the end of Celebration, basically this stuff is while stocks last, so once it runs out, that's it. They don't get any more in stock. So if you like the look of this, then get your order in sharpish. Okay, so then when I'm adhering detailed dies like this, I always use my fine tip glue pen. Okay, and I take just the white lid off, don't need the whole thing. Okay, and when you're putting your glue down, don't put tons on, otherwise it will just squidge out, and you don't really want that. So you just, I'm not being very accurate here, but it will do for the purpose of the exercise. Okay, now I only want to put it on the top half because I've not got a glimmer paper bit for the bottom. I'm going to leave that free. Now when you're sticking to glimmer paper, okay, it does take a few minutes, it does take a little bit longer to sort of catch the glue, so you just need to hold it for a few moments before it fully, as I say, catches. Okay, I'm going to leave that. While I'm doing that, I'm going to get my stamp set. So this is the same stamp set that we used earlier that coordinates. So we used it to cut out this balloon, or to stamp the balloon, and then we cut it out, and then we've got our clouds. And I'm going to use it, if I can find it, under the pile of everything that we've got here. Where is it? Where is it? What have I done with it? Ah, here it is. I'm going to stamp the greetings. So what shall we have? I'm going to say, what am I going to say? I'll say hope your day is on cloud 9. So that is here. It's happy birthday. Alrighty, so I'll pop it on the block, and I'm going to stamp that in. I'm going to do black. Let's get my black. There we go. Oh, it's a bit crooked. Never mind. Okay. So then we'll just take a little dimensional, pop it on the back of this balloon here, and just put him like that. And then the clouds I don't want popped up, so I'm just going to use a little bit of glue. There we go. There we go. I'm whispering to myself, sorry. That's what I do when I craft. Does anybody else talk to themselves when they craft? I do it all the time. So there we have it. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. Love the way the glimmer paper looks in the back of that. Okay, so where are we at now? I think we're almost up to an hour. So, oh, sorry. I just want to show you one more card, and then we're done. And this is using our dies just recently introduced, which do some interesting sort of multi-purpose dies that do more than one thing. So just put this glue away. Let me just clear a spot. Okay. So we're going to use this special reason bundle and stamp set. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, this just looks like your average ordinary flower die set, and I've got loads of them. So I didn't really bother with it at first. And then I kind of started seeing what it could do, and it kind of, well, it did. It changed my mind. Obviously, it changed my mind because I have it here. So it does a few things, okay? So this image here, okay, if you place it, I'm going to use my, here, it should be fine. I'm going to place it here on my card, and I'm just going to run it through and cut it out. Okay, see the glitter from the last bit. Can you see what it does? It cuts it like an insert or an inlay out of it. Can you see I've gotten glitter? This is on my plate from the last thing I cut out. Okay, look at that. Now, you could just lay this down on your card base like that to get a background, or you could lay it on top of paper, pattern paper. You can see it stamped stuff in the background. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to layer the glimmer paper behind it. Doesn't that look fantastic? Okay, but that's not the only thing it does. So let's take this same die again. Okay, and then we're going to take this one, which is the outline. Okay, and if you place that, you have to line it up. Let's get it. Yeah, let's cut this first. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out. Okay, so I've got my inlay. I'm not too worried about popping that out just yet because I've got some more cutting to do. So what I do is just line this. See, again, this would be an ideal time to use my magnetic platform because it's important where that lands. But as I've got my ordinary platform in, I'm just going to keep going with that. So I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape. You can use washi tape, whatever you like. Okay. There you go. Just make sure that it's something low tack so that when you take it off, it won't tear your card. Okay. So we've got that through. Now look what we get. Okay. If I take my big brush. See how easily that releases? Okay, so now we get a beautiful detailed flower, which you could also put on our card. You see that? But that's not all it does. It does even more than that. So if we take let's clear some space here. If we take the coordinating stamp set, we've got a coordinating image here. Okay, I'm going to pop it on my block. And I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to stamp this one in mint macaron. Keep that there. Okay, so I'm going to ink it up. Okay, stamp it down, and then I'm going to use that die again wherever it's gone on my table. I'm making quite a mess here. You can't see what's off camera, but it's a mess. Right, here we go. All right, so again, like before, let's just get that lined up. Can you see that? Yes, you can. Here we go. Pop the washi tape back on again. Run it through. And then what you get your image stamped out. So what we have as options on our card is we have this, and if I just take one of the sentiments, which is, I'm going to say, I'm going to use, there's no special reason for this card. If I can find it. There we are. let's stamp that in. Let's do the macaron.
Mom,
Okay, so let's take this out. I'm just going to stamp that down there. Okay. Look at that. And then if I take a little bit of the... I'm going to take a little bit of this at the top. And you see a little hand in there, that's my helper. That's my son Rupert. Say hi, Rupert.
Hi.
See, you're famous now. You've been on Facebook.
Hi.
So, put a little knot on there. Oh, careful, don't knock the things off. Okay, excuse me. Okay, so you've got this basic layout, so you could have it like this. You could have your stamped image like that, or you could have it like that, where you've got, mind your fingers, Rupert. I've got my demonstrator showing you what to do now. Hang on. Don't stamp it. Yep, that's it. So this is, I'm just going to move that. So these are 3 things that you can do with this one die set, which is absolutely fantastic. And there's a smaller image that does the same thing. And then there's a leaf image that also does the same thing. That's it. See? There you go. Would look great with a leaf on there. Okay, so that's it. Thank you, Rupert. I'm done now. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to finish up now. So there we go, everybody. There's your Big Shot Masterclass. Everything you need to know about using the Big Shot. I hope it's been helpful for you. If you've got any questions, just let me know. Just drop me an email or send me a message. As I said, to enter into the prize draw for... Did you like that? For the pack of paper, just been photobombed, pack of paper or the Pretty Pocket card kit. Remember, comment gets you 1 entry, a share gets you 2, and place an order by Sunday gets you 5 entries into the draw. If you've decided that you absolutely have to have a Big Shot, then place your order between now and the 31st of March using this host code, and I will send you a packet of the Stitched Shapes framelits absolutely free. You'll also qualify for 2 celebration items for free. And if you do that order by Sunday, it'll also give you 5 entries into my competition. So thanks everybody for joining me. Thanks for your comments. Make sure to share, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye. Say bye, Rupert.
Bye.